So the rules for today's debate, candidates will have 1 minute to answer each open question. You'll get a bell at 30 seconds from our lovely timekeeper Laban here, and then after 1 minute, he'll just keep ringing that bell until you stop talking. Then we'll also have yes/no questions, and with those, we want to keep it short and sweet, so just hold up your card, yes or no, for those. Cool, so kicking off, 1 minute each. Who are you and why should you be our next Southern Ward councillor? Starting with Laurie.
That sounds good. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Laurie Foon ahau. I live in Berhampore with my beautiful whānau. I've had one daughter here at Vic, and one daughter still at Vic. I've been a councillor for 2 terms, and the reason why I put my hand up is that I was really concerned about climate change, and I wanted to see Wellington do better and become the coolest little sustainable capital in the world. And I've had a lot of good action at putting that vision into practice, mostly around redesigning our waste system with a zero waste strategy so we can stop filling up our landfills, and also in transport by creating more transport options like public transport and active transport, and we've seen really good results there. We've had a 146% increase at the Basin Reserve in people riding bikes and 69% increase in public transport. So I want to continue that mahi. We need to revitalise our city centre, keep creating more increase in public, keep creating more transport options to future-proof our city for the future. Vote number 1 for me, Laurie Foon, Paikawakawa Southern Ward. Kia ora.
Paula.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Paula Muollo. I'm born and bred in Island Bay. My parents are immigrant people from Italy, so I'm 100% Italian, but proud to be a Kiwi. So I'm standing to represent our communities, everybody, bring your voice back around the table, more consultation, more transparency with your decisions around the table. I believe around the city, but I'm sure most
win in the court, saying that we are employees. As a councillor, I work really hard. I led a campaign to stop the sale of airport share and Wellington City Council share and the airport. I also voted against the corporate subsidization of Reading Cinema, the $32 million deal. Locally, I support the community in Newtown, in Island Bay, in Brooklyn through different notes of motions in council. I want to continue that. Vote 1 for Nureddin Abdurahman.
Awesome, thank you candidates. Before we get into the serious questions, just a quick plug. We do have a raffle over here. It's for a $50 Prezi card voucher. So just pop over to our table over there at some point and get yourself in the raffle. Sweet, so our first question.
How long do we have?
1 minute for all questions. Yeah.
The biggest challenge in the South, like everywhere else currently, is affordability. As you know, the central government seems to be attacking Wellingtonians when it comes to the public service, about 8,000 to 10,000 people being fired from the public service. That means there are people who pay rates, there are people who raise their children in this city. And that is why currently affordability is a big issue. We need to address it. And what that looks like means the rates that they pay, we spend it in a wise way. Secondly, transport. That is why Labour does have a policy. If you use 8 times a week, the 5th day is going to be free. And that is affordability, addressing affordability as well. And thank you.
Well, you know, I've been speaking to, in the last couple of weeks actually, a lot of you students around the city and also the southern suburbs, you know, and asking you what is important to you. A lot of them say, you know, obviously public transport needs the cost. It's a big cost for them to get around. You know, obviously jobs, affordability, as you said, is correct. That seems to be the biggest issue, is the affordability. So we need to work smarter to do things in a better way, come to solutions, get better pricing, benchmarking. So ultimately you and the next generations that follow you are not paying for the mistakes of our councils. So yeah, we'll do things smart if you vote 1, Paula Muollo. Thank you.
Kia ora. I'm just going to back Nureddin up in the challenges. So I'm just going to go at that our water's facing, but I want to go a little bit deeper. In Newtown, we are facing challenges with our homeless community. And we have been working really hard to get the government to understand what our people need, and they need homes, and our government is not providing them. So we've got to work hard in that area. The other one is climate change. Our coast faces massive sea swells which are impacting on our local community. And so the cheapest mitigation is to reduce emissions now, and that is why we focus on climate change as a big part of my kaupapa. Thank you.
And we'll just get you to all stay seated for your questions. Sweet. Next one is the Southern Ward includes students, renters, families, and long-term home owners. How will you ensure that you represent such a diverse community fairly? Starting with Laurie.
I think what I want to say is we've got whānau now living in our community, but we've also got whānau in the future. And so when we make decisions, we need to consider now and next generations. And that is why building more homes is critical, and making sure that our transport systems work, and making sure we invest in big infrastructure like water. And so really, it's thinking about fairness for everybody in terms of investing in infrastructure for this and next generations.
Could you repeat the question again? Because the first
sure
part,
thing.
I missed that, sorry.
The Southern Ward includes students, renters, families, and long-term homeowners. How will you ensure you represent such a diverse community fairly?
Well, I think, we should be there for everybody and the needs of, look at the needs of everybody. So we do have homeowners, we've got renters. Obviously, in the past year, actually, the rental prices have come down. There's a lot of vacancy because people are simply going overseas for jobs because there are not enough jobs for students here. So, families are moving overseas. We've had a mass exodus of about, I think since the last census, of 38,000 people. We're the only city in the actual country that have lost numbers apart from Chatham Islands. But, we want to retain you people. You're our future. You're what our guide is to a better way moving forward for all of us. So we want to work better with you. Consultation, I think, is important. I think having, of course, affordability. We want to make it affordable for you. We want to make it easier for you. We want to hear your voice. And it's fantastic the work you do. And, I really appreciate that too. So thank you.
I think we have a lot of commonalities, even though we have diverse community. Example, let me give one example. In Newtown, currently, one of the biggest challenge we have is homelessness, addiction, and issues related to it. Those issues are issues for all of us. No one chooses to sleep rough on the road unless the system failed them. The current system is failing our society, and that is what we need to address. That is in the interest of our students. That is in the interest of homeowners. That is in the interest of ethnic communities. We need to work on those commonality. When it comes to transport, I have young kids. I want to make transport easy for them, for the friends, for the next generation. What that looks like, safe transport, including cycling, that we have been doing a lot of them, and public transport when it comes to bus lanes as well. When you look at data in the last 2 years, this triennium, we have done more dedicated bus lanes than any triennium they have done in the last 3 trienniums. So we need to continue doing that.
Sweet. So now we have our first yes or no question. So get your cards ready. Should heritage protections be removed on earthquake risk buildings in the ward? Yeah. Cool. Moving on now to housing and affordability. Housing is one of the defining issues for students in Southern Ward. What will you do to improve access to safe and affordable housing? Starting with Nureddin.
Well, I think what we need to do is, that is why actually we have done it, the district plan, making sure we build up. And we also need to look at it, the utilization of lands. That's why I'm really looking forward next triennium, the option, we need to look at the rating option, including land value taxes. What that means is that going to make a difference for our community, and that what makes it better for everyone is good for our students. What is good for our students is good for the whole community. So housing is a big thing, and we need to look at how we can build more houses, and that is what we have approved. The district plan, we need less of heritage, more of the housings.
So I believe in having intensification in the right areas, areas that are closer to the city, areas that work. Some areas are light plains, like Newtown, there's character properties that, you know, doesn't work further back. But I think like Adelaide Road and working with developers to achieve a better outcome in the right areas for students and people that are commuting close to the whole studying or working, you know, to working ways easier. That makes it easy for everybody to get around. So, yeah, I agree with that. Thank you.
Yeah, kia ora. This council's already done massive work in lifting the restrictions through the district plan so that we can build more housing, particularly in the central city. Land value rates are the next way we can look at intensification. But the other thing we need to do now is build better partnerships with our chips, with Kāinga Ora, with our iwi. Anyone who will consider building more homes, we need to lean into that.
A few more yes or no questions now. Yes or no, do you support stronger standards for rentals in Wellington? Do you support the pro-density district plan passed in 2024? Are you currently a renter? And are you a landlord? Yeah, sweet. Cool. So transport and accessibility. What is your transport priority for the Southern Ward if you're elected? Laurie.
Public transport has got to be the next priority, and actually it's leaning into affordability. We've done really good work by putting in the bus priority lanes and safe cycle lanes so we can all get to work where we need to. But the next biggest opportunity is to refine those networks and help make public transport more affordable. Kia ora.
I agree with the public transport. I think it needs to be more affordable because so many students have told me, you know, just the cost of public transport, on top of the cost of living, on top of all the expenses they're paying. It's just too much burden as well as what they're doing, studying, working part-time. So, yeah, I think that's the number one priority for the transport is the affordability. Thank you.
Well, I think what that affordability looks like is something that I want to touch on. Currently, the bus service is outsourced. It's become a business. Transport shouldn't be a business. We should make it easy for our people to travel to the level that actually should be free. And for students or for everyone, and that is the beginning, and we can make for everyone in the future to that free standard for all. And also, people do have different mode of transport. It's not only buses. That means we need to make sure for those who want to bike, they can bike safely.
Yeah, so sweet. As all of you touched on, public transport costs are a huge issue for students. Would you support one proposal in the selection, which is a weekly cap on public transport costs per person? Cool. Do you support expanding cycleways even if it reduces car parks? And have you used public transport in the last week? Oh, sorry, have you used public transport in the last week? Sweet. Just in case there's anyone here who missed it the first time, we do have a raffle going. Just pop on over to our table over here and you can grab a iced mocha as well. Moving on to climate and resilience, how should council prepare the Southern Ward for climate challenges such as sea level rise, earthquakes, and extreme weather events? How should council prepare the Southern Ward for climate challenges such as sea level rise, earthquakes, and extreme weather events?
One thing that I have been really pushing for is an adaptation piece of work which starts the discussion amongst our communities. As we've talked about for the Southern Ward, we've got the sea swells which are really causing a hazard for our communities, but slips are another one. So as we've seen with the massive opening of our skies, we've got no control on the water that's coming from the sky. So one of the things we've been doing at council is also with our water entity, really making sure that we work together on nature-based solutions for our stormwater. And that is going to cost the council a little bit more, but if we don't control or do better with our stormwater, we will be flooded like many other communities we've seen around Aotearoa. So it's water coming from the sky and from the sea is where we need to focus. Kia ora.
Okay, so obviously growing up on the south coast, you do see those massive swells and, you know, all the rocks coming over, and that is a big problem, and it's going to continue to be with the climate change. So I do actually support having, I did go to the seawall rise meeting, was when NIWA had the seawall rise meeting, and they were coming up with solutions, and they were saying about putting walls in certain areas and, you know, having obviously adaptation plans in place. Moving forward, I think there needs to be more planning moving forward with the climate change to be more resilient in areas that we can't control, and just work together to get better outcomes in the areas that we need to, that are becoming quite dangerous. Thank you.
Well, I think I back up everything that Deputy Mayor Foon said, but at the same time, this week we passed a coastal management plan, and part of that coastal management plan was just actually the adaptation, and part of that adaptation was some of the roads currently not fit for future. That means that unfortunately will be washed away, and we cannot continue putting a lot of resources there. How we address it, I think this is a bigger issue. The central government should be stepping up and supporting local government, because the current local government funding model is broken. We cannot address all those issues in one go. Thank you.
Yes or no, should council spend more on climate change mitigation and adaptation? Yes or no, did you support the proposed sale of the council's airport shares? Cool. Moving on to council finances and leadership.
Hang on. Well, the question was, do you support councils?
Oh.
Can you go back to the first question?
Oh, did you support the sale of the proposed sale of the council's airport shares? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. With rates rising, how will you balance affordability for the Southern Ward residents while still investing in critical services and infrastructure? With rates rising, how will you balance affordability for the Southern Ward residents while still investing in critical services and infrastructure?
Cool. I think one of the things that we can do is to make sure every little penny we get from the community is spent wisely. I can't promise to the community a zero rates increase. That is not credible in any measure. However, I'll make sure we're not going to put 150 million cost blowout in the town hall. I'm not going to give as a council $32 million corporate subsidy to the Reading Cinema. I'm not going to give that money again to any kind of cost blowout. One of the proposals from council this term was because the commercial rate is very high, 3.7. Well, yes, but how are we going to make it decrease? By putting on households. I campaign against it, I stopped. I'll continue that. If there is anyone who can afford to pay, not households, those corporate landlords.
So I believe in focusing on core services and priorities that are community-based. So instead of having like suddenly where we've got, of course we've got like sludge front blowout of 300 million. We've got projects like the Golden Mile, which, you know, people, it's a bit of a how shall we say it? It's a sensitive topic for many because obviously if jobs go in the city, there's going to be no jobs for people and people move away, and that's what's been happening. So the bigger picture doesn't look good. So you're spending 200 million there, you spend 300, it all adds up. So I believe too in trimming. Louise Tonge from Infratel came up with $2.8 billion in savings. So there is money there we can trim without trimming core services. So I think we need to just focus on our core priorities and then we streamline the rest. Thank you.
Kia ora. Efficiency, and sometimes spending on climate initiatives is efficient, and we have voted to spend on transforming our pools from gas to electrification. That will save emissions and in the long term the cost of running the pools. Earthquake strengthening, I do not think that we can afford to keep earthquake strengthening our city. I agree with the town hall, even though I voted for it, if we had have known what it was from the outset, we wouldn't have gone there. But the reality is, the local government funding system is broken, and this government has not turned around to help. You can trim up all you like, but the councils are responsible for spending on the main infrastructure, and ratepayers cannot afford this for the future. The government needs to step up with a new funding system to help us.
Yes or no, would you cut council spending to reduce rates increases? Would you cut council spending to reduce rates increases? Yeah. Reduce rates increases. Sweet. VUWSA's Where's the Work campaign highlights how students and young people are struggling with job opportunities and underemployment. What role should council play in supporting job creation, internships, and fair work in Southern Ward and across the city? Laurie.
Kia ora. City's in a bad place at the moment, but we've actually got a massive opportunity. At the moment, our government administration is the largest employing sector, but close behind that is tech and innovation. What council can do is really work to boost that sector so we can employ more people. So, and a good example is council has just partnered with Victoria University to create a tech hub down at Rutherford House called Tai Awa. That's created 127 jobs, and that's the opportunity we need to do. Thank you.
I think.
Oh, sorry, are you going?
Okay. So yeah, I believe in, you know, obviously private businesses also funding opportunities here for students, and obviously working, obviously the tech sector, there's openings with government we should be working closer with the government, for the government to give incentive for new companies to come to New Zealand. You know, obviously filming rebates, WETA's a big thing, a big part of the employment in Wellington as well, with the special effects and all their sector. And I believe that, yeah, if we give these businesses a chance and encourage business motivation to come here, so it's council, but it's also government that need to work together with opening the doors to allowing more business to come here, so we can grow our cities, we can flourish again, and we can thrive, and there'll be more jobs for people. Thank you.
Well, I think we can do a few things. One, currently we have Wellington NZ, that's the economic development part of the council. That should be activated in a way that can empower students from study to work, and through working with the central government, even though the current government seems to be not welcoming. And as a good example would be when you finished, you used to have an internship into different ministries. For example, if you are someone like Liban, who've been working amazingly in this space, who've been active, a president of Victoria University, once you finish, there is not much job opportunity out there. This is insane. If we don't have a job for the brightest and, you know, for all, what kind of city we want to be leading? And I think it's more of the central government needs to be pushed, and I think that is an area as advocacy I will be pushing forward if I got elected.
Students make up a huge part of the Southern Ward. What will you do to ensure young people's voices are included in council decision making?
Again, actually yesterday we established a new advisory form or model, which includes the youth, the rainbow community, ethnic, and the Pacifica. And for me, what I would like to see is in that strategic kind of level where the youth can have a big input, where the current strategy can be followed up with more action plans. It is nothing to have an advisory group from the youth unless you have a strategy to address the demand. There is no reason to have a strategy unless you have an action plan to follow up and to fill that gap. And I think that is what we need to follow up with, more of action plan and listening to the advice. Because when you say you are advising me, if you're not listening to the advice, that is not a good way of working relationship. So I will be listening and working with the students and the advisory group around the council.
Well, last week I attended the youth initiative about consultation, about what's important to all you as the people of Wellington. So I strongly believe, because you are our future, and a lot is riding on you, so we want you to be actively involved in decision making. So I believe there should be a certain fund that should be available, that we have student involvement, and because you've got some amazing ideas, as we saw last week. You know, so yeah, it's really important for you to come to the table and give us your decisions. Thank you.
Our young people need to feel like our councils are listening to them and making a difference. And in our recent resident survey, it was the younger groups that were really feeding back that they thought that council was making a difference and that we are making change to public transport, active transport modes, housing, things that affect them. But I also think that we need to extend the way that we're doing democracy. And so deliberative democracy and participatory budgeting services is a really good way to get more people involved in the complexities of council. And last term, council ran its first citizens' assembly, and I really think this is an important way to reach out into our communities for more people to understand and get involved with what's important to them.
Sweet. Yes or no question. Do you support cheaper public transport fares for tertiary students? So for our next section, you can all have 2 minutes to answer this one, as it's such a huge issue in the Southern Ward. What will you do to make Newtown, Island Bay, and the wider ward safer, more welcoming, and more vibrant, especially at night? Starting with Laurie.
Thank you for the 2 minutes, because it is really complex. I think what's unique about our community in Newtown is that we are a really caring and inclusive community. And so what is happening, why we are attracting our beautiful street communities, is because we're a welcoming place and we want to see our people be well. But what is happening is that there are some behaviours in a small amount that are probably drug-induced that are not really helping the situation. And so council has really worked hard to take a look at what we're doing in the city to bring a tailored plan to Newtown. But what we really need to do, in my view, is have more visibility of our social agencies who are there helping, because I think it's more of a case of the community not knowing what's going on, when actually there is a lot going on to help our community. So giving that more visibility. And another thing that my brother here has been championing is more of our Māori wardens on the street. So while the police are doing a good job, actually what we want is more manaakitanga and having people that bring a more caring kaupapa, and particularly around school times and particularly at night. I think our communities really need to lean in to being more caring for our for our communities on the street, rather than pulling away. And there's a great example in Nelson, a place called Wikitoria, where they've set up cabins, like a temporary housing place for people that need homes. And at St. Tom's, that is one of the visions I have, that we can actually create places for our
Come on. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, as we know, in the Southern Ward, we've got a lot of diverse communities there, which makes it exciting, a great place to live. You know, I mean, you walk down the street, you see so many different communities coming together in a smaller space, which is absolutely fantastic. But, you know, speaking to people, again, it's the feedback from people when you're walking around, talking to people. You know, obviously it's the safety issue and the crime aspect, and mental health is a big part of that. The other day I was in Newtown, outside Countdown, and there was a guy who was just suffering, who'd run away from the hospital. And, you know, he was in so much distress. So I think having more sort of concern and government involvement again, initiatives and council for mental health, because the drug and alcohol addiction is a big part of the crime that's happening in our streets. So that's one aspect. And obviously safety is like better lighting, better services. You know, I think bylaws, I mean, these poor homeless people, it's not their fault that they're there where they are, but we need sort of better wraparound services to be able to help them. And more, you know, obviously actively Maori wardens, other authorities on the street that can actually accommodate them. You know, I went to the City Mission a few weeks ago, and the work they're doing is amazing. They've got counselling there, they've got all sorts of services, and they're very welcoming for people. So we need the proper channels, because a lot of them just don't know where to get the help. And I think a big part of it is us guiding them and having the facilities to be able to guide them to the right places to get that help. Thank you.
Let's start with reality. We live in a broken system, and the system is not constructed by you and me. The system is constructed and written by those polished and privileged. And that is why the system is not acknowledging and addressing the issue of the most vulnerable in our community. That is why when people see people sleeping on the road, they blame them instead of the system. When they see someone struggling with addiction, they blame the addiction they are going through instead of the broken family, broken because of the system. So what we need to do is addressing the bigger picture and constructing the system in the way it worked for all of us. When it comes to what politics is also the art of the possibility. While fighting the system, constructing what's going to work for us in a smaller level as a councillor. For me, I have written a letter to Minister Potaka on how we can address the issue, the homelessness and the addiction issue in Newtown. I'm still waiting for a response, even though they said they're going to get back to me in 2 weeks. Now it's 3 weeks, they haven't done. My ask was, come and see the community, walk on the street and talk to those people. They have names, they have families. Why they are there, we need to ask, we need to understand. That is how we can address. It's not only as safe, we're just going to do blah, blah. No. Council also have a system, even though I disagree to some extent. We have a Maori warden. We have urban liaison officers. They need to come through the city and addressing and understanding those issues. You need that person-to-person understanding to address the issue on the ground. And that is the way we can address it. If I got elected, I will continue to be the voice for those who are underprivileged, not for those who are privileged.
Thank you, candidates. I'll give you 1 minute for this one. Do you support keeping Māori wards? Why or why not?
Well, I think it's absolutely yes. But why we are even discussing this? This is rubbish. We have to discuss a lot of issues. You just asked me a minute ago about homelessness and a lot of issues that we have. But because of ACT Party that got less than 5% of the population talking the policy in such a way, that's insane. And for me, I don't even want to give it a time for this, but I'll tell you, if you are considering not to vote, 3 reasons why you should support. 1, this is about our past, Treaty of Waitangi. I'm here as a migrant and refugee community member because of that treaty being signed. It is also about present. I'll leave that one, it's about future as well. What it means for future, the Maori people, the perspective they have. I'll plug in now for Nico and Matthew, who I know very well, I did work with. The thinking is for 50 years, 100 years. For us, we have 10 years plan as Wellington City Council. So we need people who think for 100 years around.
Is mine on? Yep. Okay, so I believe personally that we're all Wellingtonians. I support the Māori, I love the culture. I think that's our rich in heritage, that's our background, that's, it's our history of this country, and I think it's really important for everybody to know about the history, about the treaty and the involvement, and we are very, very respectful of the Māori people. But I think personally it's a democratic vote and it should be put out to all the public. So I think you, our constituents, should vote on this topic. I can't make a decision on behalf of everybody, so I'd like the public to be able to vote, and I'll be happy with what the majority want because I believe that the democracy of Wellington is what we should be following. Thank you.
Our council voted democratically 2 terms ago to put in a Māori ward. Any council can put in a rural ward or a Timbuktu ward. What's the difference with having a Māori ward? So there is nothing wrong for our society by having a Māori ward. It only brings benefit to all New Zealanders. Why would we not have that voice? This council has been world leading in its relationships with our mana whenua. We also have 2 seats for our local iwi on our council. We should keep those and keep Māori ward so that the least we can do is have the voice of our Māori on around our table. Kia ora.
We now have time for a few questions from the audience. So you've been able to scan the QR code here and send in a question, and then these questions have been voted on by the audience to be given to our candidates. First up, and I'll give you all 30 seconds to answer our audience's questions. Do you condemn Ray Chung's sexist attacks towards the mayor? Oh, 1 minute, 1 minute.
Absolutely. As Deputy Mayor and watching our mayor be attacked in such a way has been absolutely disgraceful. We cannot, and the truth is, if our mayor, let's be honest, was a white person, this would not have happened. That she is young and she speaks her mind, it's just an atrocious situation. And if we can't show leadership, if we choose leaders that act in such a way, what are we saying to our young people and our next generations? We must have respect for each other around the table and in our personal lives. That behaviour was not okay.
So I personally believe as a council we should be united and not divided. We've all got our views, but obviously on the campaign trail, I have to say, I've seen this like divided into groups where everyone feels that they've got to be in that camp or that camp. But quite frankly, we should be unified and listening to respecting everyone's point of views. We've all got differing point of views, there's no doubt about it, but we should respect the values of respect, integrity, honesty, and transparency. We can work together, but I don't condone any behaviour at all like that, treatment at all with what's happened. But I also believe too that it's really important, like moving forward, for people to understand that the council, we're not divided into groups. I know people support different people, and that's fine. But we should all work together to get the best outcome for you, our Wellington people. Thank you.
Well, no doubt, this is really, really disgraceful, and that is not the kind of standard I expect from anyone who I wanted to represent in the public, and I condemn. It is unbelievable. I had a lot of differences with Mayor Fano when it comes to politics, but what she has gone, this triennium, is very scary for a lot of women, for Maori, and for young people who want to stand for public spaces. And that shouldn't be coming from someone who she worked with as well. And I know Ray Chung, I have worked with him, and this one, he was absolutely wrong. I condemn him 100 times, and no one should be called out in such a way. That's disgraceful.
There is a lot of talk about improving Wellington services such as public transport and housing. How can this be paid for when candidates are pushing for lower rates?
Well, look, I'm not going to lie to you. The community is really struggling when it comes to affordability. There are some people who really say, oh, should I sell my house and move to another area? But if anyone promises zero rates increase, I can tell you again, they do not know how council works at all. That is impossible. So for us, what we can promise for the community, every little penny that you pay, I will make sure I spend it wisely in the way that gives back to the community, empower the community, infrastructure, they use it, and it's going to be also for the next generations. Thank you.
Okay, so there's an analysis done, actually, that does show, I can't go over that in a minute, but the $2.8 billion of savings, it's possible to keep maintaining our core services without diverting. There's a lot of services where the government should be dealing with that. And I personally believe that social housing, $1 billion in 10 years, should be under the government. We're the only city in New Zealand where the ratepayer and the taxpayer, you're paying twice for the social housing. The government should be doing this, and that's $1 billion right there. And also, you're paying, if you're in the social housing, you're paying 75% of your income under the council. In the government, you're paying 25% of your income. So you're paying 50% less if they were running that service. So it's actually costing you all more money and affordability. Thank you.
The reason why we've got rates increases is because people keep voting against rates increases. And that was the title of a spin-off article. The reality is this council was brave enough to invest in the vital water infrastructure that we needed, that had been postponed or not reinvested in over generations. And that has led to massive inequity of this generation, not our grandparents before us. They got the benefits, now we are paying. I will continue to invest in infrastructure and or systems that create equity for now and next generations, and that means climate initiatives as well. Thank you.
How will you work as a councillor to ensure a positive relationship with others, and will you commit to calling out sexism, racism, and homophobia?
Yes, I will continue to keep working with my fellow councillors. I won't deny that it's been a really hard term for that, and even one as deputy mayor that sometimes I've not been proud of. But what the story that you don't get is that there is a majority of us who have different political views who work constructively together. What you read is about the divisiveness of a few. The other thing is, brain fade, quickly. Can I get 30 seconds later when it comes back? Go on, go on.
So I believe around the council table, everybody should respect everybody else's point of view. We do have differing point of views, but you know, we're all there to work together for the betterment of our city, and we can't forget that. So I think, you know, it's important, you know, we need to just, there's definitely should be zero tolerance for racism, sexism, anything like that in the council. It's just simply it's just simply unacceptable. So we need to work together, better outcomes, that's our main focus, and we stay the course and just work together on all topics. Thank you.
Well, Part two of the question. Yesterday, we were the first city in Aotearoa to launch our Rainbow Action Plan. I am so proud of this mahi because what Wellington needs to pride itself on is being the most inclusive city in Aotearoa. This we must practice as politicians, definitely. Thank you.
Cool. There you go. Sometimes you just have to show by action. As a councillors, we're doing it exactly that. That's what we did yesterday. I will continue doing the same thing. When it comes to working with other councillors, I have done it when it comes to the airport. I've done it when it comes to the Reading Cinema. And I think you can have political differences. You can work together on some common grounds. But what we need, decency, and that disrespectful and the racism and the homophobia. If any councillors are in that space, I will be calling out, I will be opposing them, I will be against them in any ways. And in other areas, happy to work with anyone if they are elected to the council, because at the end of the day, we want to work for the betterment of our community.
It costs me $8.40 for a return trip to uni from Island Bay. Will you advocate for matching the student discount with the 50% community services card discount to make it more affordable? How have you engaged with or supported our homeless communities in Newtown, and what would you do as a councillor to help them?
Well, I think this is coming again and again, and for the right reason as well. And for me, they are part of our community. They are our brothers. They are our sisters. They are our fathers who are out there, not because of them, actually, because of the broken system. For me, I sit down with them on the road and discussing what's happening to them. Some of them, I'll tell you a really, really quick story. This guy, currently, he's homeless in Newtown. And around 10 years ago, when I was driving taxi, he was the manager, and he is a guy who started Green Taxi. And currently, he's homeless, he's on the road. Why? Because of the mental health issues, and a lot of things happen, in family-wise as well. So I think we need to connect with them. What it means is sometimes sitting, having coffee with them. And there is another homeless person in Newtown, actually not homeless. He just come out in the evening because he doesn't want to stay at home by himself. He feels lonely. And there are a lot of issues that we need to be understanding in this space.
So about a month ago, I went to Newtown, and there was an initiative to give the homeless people blankets and socks, and so I was happy to be part of that. But what I found was the people that were the really, really seriously homeless people were standing back, and the people that really didn't need it, they were coming forward. And they're so vulnerable, they just lack their confidence. I think we need more social groups for them to interact again, because they've lost that contact with their communities. They feel like they're on the outer. And I really feel like the wraparound services, they're really, really important to engage with them, to give them that sense of worthiness again. And a lot of that's the reason they're on the streets as well, and they just can't see a way forward. So I think it's really important. That's really the wraparound services. Thank you.
Our homeless community are a community, and actually that's right, Paula. That is where they are finding each other to be able to connect. One of the big challenges for me has been walking along Newtown and really trying to connect at a social level with our community, and going along with DCM, who are one of our social agencies, to really help understand why they are there. But I'm going to come back. The most heartbreaking situation is when you hear there is no housing, there is nowhere for our community to go. Our mental health services are exhausted because their funding has been cut. And so whatever, it's systemic, but this government has made the situation so much worse. So we really need to be leaning into working on them to help change it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, candidates. I'll now give you 1 minute each to answer why should Southern Ward voters choose you, and wrap yourselves up.
Well, I think 3 years ago, there was an organization called Voice for Aroha organized a big Southern Ward candidates meeting. At the time, I said 3 things. My background, telling them where I came from and how I studied at Victoria University, my first degree, second degree, blah, blah. And then I also told them what I would do if they give me their number 1. 3, I said why I'm Labour Party. Today I have reported what I have been doing, and happy to share with some of you after this finished. But if I get the opportunity to go back to council again, I will continue investing in the pipes. I'll continue investing in our infrastructure. I'll continue investing in the public transport. I'll continue supporting our housing infrastructure. If you look at it, some people are saying we need to hand the housing back to the central government. Well, the central government says they don't want to have it. Even if they say yes, do I trust them? No. So I will continue protecting that. Thank you.
So over the years, I've been involved in a number of events. The Absolutely Positively Wellington campaign, hosted a number of people over in Wellington, like David Beckham and people like that, for funds, to get like the football. I was part of the Phoenix, the company that founded the Football Phoenix, the Phoenix Football Club. So my passion is getting Wellington back to that vibrant, coolest little capital, and getting events happening, consulting. For me, it's actually critical, consulting with our youth. I want more sort of like, so you can afford to grow up, you know, get good jobs, stay in New Zealand, not leave our country, and promoting more business to come to Wellington, more subsidised, affordable transport for you. I think should be free up to a certain age for people, because people are just struggling with the cost of living crisis, and work together as communities to make it better for people, our youth, to stay here, live here, and enjoy and be proud of Wellington once again. Thank you.
Kia ora. I stood for council because we could do better for our climate and be a world-leading sustainable city. Now we're one of the only cities in the world where bird biodiversity is on the rise, where we are reducing our emissions, where we've popped up a cycleway network. This is action that I have been behind. So I'm really asking you to get me back into council so that I can keep making good things happen for you and for Pōneke, so we can be the coolest little sustainable capital in the world. Kia ora.
Let's have another big round of applause for all our candidates for coming here and speaking to you all today. And now the raffle.